Let me tell you a ghost story. I was reading this book, The Ghost, A Cultural History, and I was reminded of one of my favorite early modern ballads featuring a ghost. For context, ballads would usually be about current events and tended to be very sensationalized versions of the news set to familiar melodies. There were lots of ballads in the 17th century about famous murders, and ghosts often appeared in them, usually signaling guilt and injustice. Samuel Pepys, the famous diarist, wrote several of them down in his journal, including this one, A New Ballad of the Midwife's Ghost, which was published in 1680. The story goes that there was a midwife who lived in Rotten Row. The street name is not a great start, is it? But anyway, this midwife, Mrs Adkins, she lived in Rotten Row in Holborn, and she had a good reputation throughout her life. But frightening apparitions had been seen at the midwife's old house after her death, and these apparitions looked like her. Plus, people had heard groans and strange noises. Eventually, neighbors decided to talk to the ghosts, although they were feeling the hair of their heads standing on end to see their late familiar friend. According to the ballad, the ghost confessed her crimes to a maid. The midwife's ghost tells that she had helped her clients get rid of 2 unwanted babies by murdering them, and she goes on to explain how she had hidden the bones behind the tiles next to her fireplace. She asks this maid for the remains to be buried properly, and she says, "And let the world to know my crime, and that I am most sorry for't, desiring midwives to take heed how they dispose their bastard breed." Charming. So the guilt-stricken ghost then disappears in a flash. In the ballad, these cases of infanticide are described as being committed by a monstrous hand, and it is expected that there will be skepticism about this fantastical tale. The ballad goes, "Most people they are apt of late to condemn most strange things as lies. To the Cheshire Cheese you may repair, for this they will you satisfies, having the children's bones to show in Holborn if you do it know." So, the story goes, the bones were taken to a public house, the Cheshire Cheese, as evidence of the murders to those who didn't believe the ghost story. Now, this pub was on Fleet Street, where most of London's publishing houses were, which must have helped with the sales of this broadside pamphlet. The Cheshire Cheese still operates as a pub today, by the way, and it is one of the coolest, most haunted pubs in London, and I definitely recommend checking it out, especially over Halloween. The midwife story is sensational and horrifying, and this ballad sold very well. It was sung in alehouses and the story spread. But is it a true story? Well, many ballads were created about real cases, but many stories were made up too, or at least heavily embellished to sell more copies. I did find another source about this case, a pamphlet from the year before, called A True Relation of a Dreadful Ghost which appeared in the shape of one Mrs Adkins to several persons. So I would imagine that the pamphlet inspired the ballad. In any case, though, there were many stories like these told in ballads, and they point to an anxiety about the role that midwives played in the community in this period. Men, such as surgeons and men midwives, were gradually starting to get involved in the world of childbirth, but the birth room was still largely the domain of women. Midwives were both respected in their communities and sometimes regarded with suspicion. Their knowledge about the secrets of women gave them power and scared some people. They could potentially help induce abortions, prevent pregnancies, or even, as in this story, be involved in infanticide. At the same time, they were often called to testify in court as experts on the world of reproduction. They occupied a contested space in early modern British society. So whether the story of these murders is real or not, this ballad's success indicates how early modern people regarded midwives with ambivalence. They brought new life to this world, but what if they did the opposite too? The same can be said about unnatural mothers who committed this crime, infanticide. This story suggests that we would do well to keep an eye out and not to trust midwives, or indeed women, too much. In the ballad, justice is ultimately restored, and the ghost, it is implied, is paying for her sins in hell. The story is therefore reassuring. Evil will be punished. If you would like to listen to this ballad, rest assured that I won't make you listen to me singing. I recommend checking out the recording available on the English Broadside Ballad Archive, which I have linked below. And happy Halloween!